Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Alyssa and I'm the Boards and Commissions Coordinator for the City of Pueblo. My guest today is Kim Archuleta, Chair of the Retail and Medical Marijuana Licensing Authority. Thank you so much for attending today, Kim.
Yes.
And thank you to everyone for being here to learn a little bit more about how to join a board and what it means. We do have a couple trickling in here still, so I'll allow them. And we'll just get started. So today we are presenting Introduction to Board Service and how to apply. I will stop for questions a few times during the presentation, and I'll stay on at the end as well if you do have questions afterwards, but you can also put your questions in the chat if you'd like. If you get nothing else from this presentation, I hope that you leave knowing that government works best when residents get involved and that you have a place on city boards and commissions. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen here. Can everyone see that okay? It looks like a welcome. Got thumbs up. Thank you all. Okay, so the City of Pueblo has over 30 advisory committees, boards, authorities, and commissions. Surely there's one that speaks to you. These groups advise on everything from ADA accessibility to liquor licenses to renewable energy. A note as I continue, I will refer to our boards often. For today's purposes, you can take the word board itself to mean authority, commission, and committee interchangeably. Types of boards. There are several types of boards. The first is a nonprofit board. The city often makes appointments to local nonprofit boards, such as the Pueblo City County Library District, the Sangre de Cristo Art Center, the Harp Riverwalk Foundation Board. These boards take on the governing role of the individual institution. The board guides the institution, but it does not have a management role in the day-to-day activities. There are also governmental boards. These boards serve to investigate and advise on topics relevant to the city. An example of this is the Energy Advisory Commission or the Pueblo Airport Advisory Committee. This type of commission does research. They hear from subject matter experts, or they are comprised of subject matter experts, and they present findings to the mayor and to city council, and they recommend policy changes. And finally, we're going to let a few more people in here. And finally, we have quasi-judicial boards. Examples of these are the Liquor and Beer Licensing Board, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the Retail and Medical Marijuana Licensing Authority. These proceedings before the boards are somewhat like a court proceeding, therefore the term quasi-judicial. Quasi-judicial actions are when the facts of a particular situation are applied to the policy, or in the city's case, it's most likely an ordinance. And I do get a lot of questions about these quasi-judicial boards, so I'll dive a little bit deeper into those. If you would take, for example, the Planning and Zoning Commission, typically, how it works is a property or a business owner makes an application to the city for a rezoning or a site plan approval or a special variance. And there are rules and standards set forth by city ordinances regarding the criteria that must be met in order for those things to be granted. So this commission would use those standards and review the applications. They would take the facts of the case, in this case, a property application, and apply the standards set forth in the ordinance, and then make a decision. So that is essentially a quasi-judicial process where the application of policy to fact situation. So the Policy or Planning and Zoning Commission would then make their recommendation for or against something, in this case, the request for a variance, and then it would be considered by the city council and the mayor. Do we have any questions just about that much so far? And if you could raise your hand, we'll use either the typical Zoom or your video hand. Okay, not seeing any, I will continue here. Types of positions. For the City of Pueblo, we deal in two types of positions. There are city appointments and there are joint appointments. City appointments mean that the candidates apply, the review process begins, and the mayor makes an appointment. The appointment must then be confirmed by City Council. It's the quickest and the most common type of appointment that we see. A joint appointment is when both the city and the county must agree on a candidate to appoint. These applications are reviewed by PACOG, which stands for Pueblo Area Council of Governments. An appointment is made by PACOG, and then that decision must be ratified by both the City Council and the Board of County Commissioners. So you as an applicant will apply in the same way for both types of positions. The main difference you'll notice is that joint appointments take longer because PACOG meetings only happen once a month, and then 2 more meetings have to happen after that for the appointment to be fully ratified. When it comes to expectations and time commitments, I wanted to share with you a link. So let me do that real quick. Oh, it's going to make me stop recording. So I'm just going to stop sharing, So here is a link to the city's board and commission manual. You don't have to click it now. You can. I just want you to have that resource. Because that has a lot of good information in it, more than we'll be able to cover today. But what you'll find in there is that board members are usually volunteers. There are a small few that are paid. There's about 3 commissions that are paid. And just so you know, if you are a candidate for one of those, the city does require new hire paperwork within 3 days. So it's kind of fast and furious. And it's usually typically a stipend per meeting, a small one. That's for the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Liquor and Beer Licensing Authority, and then the Pueblo Conservancy District gets paid through a state stipend. But everything else is volunteer work. The most frequent question I get is, when are the meetings? And the answer is, it depends on the board. I wish it was a quick and easy one, but meetings are easy to find out when they are and where they are, so you can find some that fit your schedule. They're listed on the board's webpage. Each board or commission has its own page at pueblo.us, and we will look at that a little bit later. Or you can always ask me. I have a listing of when everything meets, so it's not hard to get. It's just I can't go through all 30 of them. It'd be very boring. Some meet in the evening, some meet during the day. Generally, they meet monthly, but a few meet quarterly. Some meet as called, which simply means they meet when needed. So for instance, there's no point in having a fire board of appeals meeting if nobody has appealed the findings of the fire board. So attendance, as a general rule of thumb, members will be referred for dismissal if they fail to attend 3 consecutive meetings. There are bylaws for most boards and commissions, and they set those rules for themselves. Boards also have varying terms. So the shortest term that we have is a 1-year term, which means you're appointed from 1 full calendar year. And it doesn't have to be a January through December. It might be an April 1st through March 31st. The longest appointments we have, I believe, are 5 years. Certain boards require that members reside within incorporated City of Pueblo limits. This could be a stipulation of the resolution that created the committee. It could be in their bylaws, but it's actually not very often. So I think that's a common misconception. You don't have to be a city resident, not necessarily. And we do always list that a residency is required if it's required. Other boards may have certain stipulations as well. The Building Board of Appeals, for instance, has a position that's only can be filled by a licensed contractor. So those are listed as well. But 90% of board service is for people like you and me and people who just care about Pueblo, want to see it grow, want to be involved in the decisions that are being made because it affects you, it affects generations to come, and you want to have a say in what happens in your community. So There's usually not anything else required other than a passion and an interest, and that you apply. As with all boards, members of city boards must act without personal conflicts of interest. So sometimes this could mean that they cannot be a member of a board, like a liquor license holder cannot be on the liquor board. But sometimes it means that you're on a board and you'll have to recuse yourself from a decision or a certain vote that has to be made. So it is up to you to be transparent and talk to your board chair about that, and then just don't vote. And if you're in doubt, also talk to your chair and don't vote. Boards do elect their own officers. They do their own onboarding, and they often have their own subcommittees, which are the groups that get the work done. So even though you might have monthly meetings as a whole board, you might be asked to sign up for a subcommittee, which has additional meetings that month. And then the city does require a CIRSA training video. It's a 30-minute webinar, and it must be completed within 6 months of appointment. Before I move on, do we have any questions about that? Okay. Cool. All right. You're still with me. Thank you. Okay. I am going to put Kim on the spot here and ask our special guest a few questions. So Kim, can you tell us about your time on your authority and tell us how you serve and how long you've been doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, Alyssa, thank you for asking me to join. This is something I'm very passionate about. First of all, can y'all hear me okay? Okay. You know, Pueblo is my home, and so I just try to be as involved as I possibly can. So thank you everyone who is on this Zoom and wanting to learn more about what it means and what it takes to sit on a board. So as Alyssa stated earlier, I do chair the Marijuana Retail and Medical Marijuana Licensing Authority for the City of Pueblo. I have been a chair for 5 years. I started in 2018 is when I started my first 4-year term. And then when that term was up, I loved it so much that I reapplied and was reappointed in 2022 and was also voted chair as well. How I basically got involved was I actually worked in the cannabis industry for a very brief period of time. And at the end of the day, I decided it wasn't for me at the end of the day. But I still wanted to be involved. I wanted to take that knowledge and take that experience, but on the total opposite end of that. You know, I wanted public safety. I wanted to be kind of that governing body of those licensees to make sure that everybody is being compliant in that industry, because that is first and foremost our main goal, is to just make sure that everybody is being compliant and doing what they're supposed to do, which of course is public safety. So I thought, well, wow, what better thing to do than to serve on a board? I have the knowledge, I have the experience, I want to give back to my community. So how do I do this? And so a vacancy became open on the board, and I applied, and here I am. So, you know, it's a fairly easy process. And what I really want to stress to you is that you don't necessarily have to have experience. Everybody on that board pretty much doesn't have any experience. They don't know anything really about the cannabis industry, and that's okay. You don't have to have these fancy degrees or all this experience to sit on that board. You know, we do have our legal counsel that does, guide us when we have questions. But, our goal is to just make sure that ordinance is being followed, and that basically they're doing what they're supposed to do. And if they're not, then they will be held accountable, and they will have to answer to the board, sometimes whether it be in a public hearing or something of that nature. So for me, I love sitting on this board. As you can see, I've been there for 5 years. That's how much I enjoy it. I do not get paid. This is strictly voluntary. And the glorious thing about the specific board, it really doesn't take up a whole lot of my time. We meet once a month. It is the third day of every month. And typically our meetings are On they're about 5 to 7 minutes. They are quick. They are quick. Sometimes we do have longer meetings when we're doing a public hearing. Those can typically take a little bit longer. I think the longest I've ever stayed is maybe an hour. So an hour once a month is the time that I volunteer to give back to my community. It is also a great resume builder. If you are looking to grow your career in public service, potentially, not even public service, in any avenue that you want to grow your career, sitting on a board is a great resume builder. It shows that you are, that volunteering and giving up your time for your community. It is a great way to network and to meet people. I have been sitting with the current board, all except for 2 members, for the full 5 years. So we're reoccurring. We love this board so much that we keep reapplying. And so I become, great friends with the people that I sit on boards with. And it is just something that I am very passionate about and something that I just thoroughly enjoy. I love utilizing my experience in that industry to hold licensees accountable and to also educate other board members about the industry. And when certain items come up, I can go into detail and explain a little bit more as to the process or why this is being presented to us. So, that's kind of in a nutshell how I got started. Like I said, I wanted to be involved and I wasn't sure how. And then this vacancy came open and here I am, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So I highly recommend, looking out there and seeing what vacancies are available, seeing something that sparks your interest. Keep in mind, like I said, you don't necessarily have to be super knowledgeable. You're going to gain that experience and gain that knowledge as you sit on the board. And you have legal counsel to ask questions to, or people that are in that particular realm that you can ask questions and things like that. So please do not be intimidated or think that maybe I don't have the knowledge or the education or the background or the experience. You do. All you have to do is just care about your community and want to get involved. And like Alyssa said, have that say so and be that voice for your community, because we are a representation. We don't want to have everybody that's been in the cannabis industry sit on the board, right? We want to have this group of individuals that's very diverse, because our community is very diverse. So we want to be a reflection of our community. So please, consider applying for a board. I promise it'll be an amazing experience for you folks.
Thanks, Kim. One follow-up. What, in your opinion, makes for a good member?
Just commitment. You really do have to be committed. If you think that maybe your other schedules or commitments won't allow you to attend the meetings when they're scheduled, then you may want to think about looking at another board that would better suit your schedule. But it is a commitment. It's just, depending on the board, it is a small commitment. Like I said, I give up about 10 minutes once a month of my time. And so just really being committed and being involved and following through, because if you are appointed to a board and all of a sudden you're not there at the meetings, maybe you're absent and somebody else is, so we don't have a quorum. And so we can't vote on anything because we don't have enough people there to vote. And so therefore we have to move everything to the next meeting, which of course affects whatever business that you were supposed to be dealing with in that meeting. So I would definitely just say commitment. If you want to do this, be serious about it, take it seriously, and be on board. Have I missed meetings? Absolutely. I can count on one hand in 5 years how many meetings I've missed. And I think I've missed, I want to say 3, maybe 4, maybe. But that's how committed I am. I don't miss a whole lot. I actually look forward to my Thursday meetings. So please, just if you are interested, follow through and be committed.
Awesome. Thank you. Any questions for Kim?
If it's all right, I have one.
Go ahead.
I think I'm actually in the wrong webinar because I am part of the commission. So I was just wondering, on a level, is it possible to contact Ms. Archuleta on a question about marijuana enforcement?
It would be better if you contact the authorities liaison, Vince Pekosik.
Okay,
I have, if you want to put your email in the chat or.
it's Ace Spriggs with
Oh, hi, Ace.
the
Yeah.
Regional Building Commission. I'm sorry, I signed up for this, but I think I should go ahead and go because I'm already part of the Regional Building Commission.
Okay, well, no, thank you for your service, and I can email you Vinny's information afterwards, okay?
Thank you, and thank
Yeah.
you very much, Miss Archuleta. I really enjoyed your speech.
So much, Ace. Good luck. Thank you.
Goodbye, guys.
Bye. And I do see Tom, I believe you are a chair of a different board, and so I don't want to feel like you have to be chased away. I think it's great information because you're also out there recruiting for us. But if you want to say anything, Tom, I want to make sure to give you an opportunity. Oh, and you're on mute. But we'd love to hear why I think you're on El Centro, and I'd love to hear why that's your passion. Oh, darn. It won't unmute. Well, Tom might work on that. Oh, here we go. Can anyone hear him?
I can't. It does. It
Okay.
says unmute. I can't hear him.
I can't hear him either. Okay, well, that's okay. If you want to keep trying, we'll let you pop in anytime. Okay, anyone else before we continue? Okay. I am going to go back to sharing my screen. Thank you, Kim. I'm glad that we have committed chairs like you and Tom.
Thank you.
Next, I'm going to talk about the application process. And so it looks like we're doing good on time. I'm going to share the city's website. Does everyone see the website?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so this is just the city's homepage. I thought that'd be easiest. From here, under your government tab, you would hover and you would scroll down, you'd go down to the second one that says boards and commissions. This takes you to the boards and commissions page. This is where we live in boards and commissions land. It talks about how to get involved, some stuff we're already talking about, the different applications and requirements. It has the whole list of different boards and commissions alphabetically. So these are all of the ones available to volunteer for. And right now we are going to talk about this section. There are 5 types of applications. However, most of the boards use this universal board and commission application. The other ones are the CSAC application, El Centro, Del Quinto Sol Rec Center, the Honor Farm, which is out at the racetrack at PMI, and Human Relations Commission. They do have some of their own special questions that they ask, so that's why they have their own. But we're going to use the universal application, and it brings you to an online form. So you would just fill it out with today's date, and then there's a drop-down list, and you choose which board or commission you want to apply for today. So I will say I want to apply for the Historic Preservation Committee. Here's my information. It wants to know your name, your address, your phone number, how to reach you. It's going to ask you if you're employed with the City of Pueblo. It's going to ask if you're a resident of the City of Pueblo. As we said, sometimes that matters. Sometimes it doesn't. It'll still ask you. It'll ask you if you have an occupation, what areas of accomplishment you feel like could assist the mission of the board you're applying for, why you're interested in being appointed, what goals you'd like to see the board work towards, and anything else that might be useful. while we consider your application. There's also an option to upload a resume or references, not required. And then if you want to receive a copy of this form, you would fill out your email address and then you'd click submit. I get applications in real time. I do send an email follow-up within 24 hours to let you know that we got your application. So that part's pretty easy, right? If you're not real comfortable on the computer, which you're on Zoom, so you're probably okay, but we do have paper versions. You can pick one up in the mayor's office. You can request one by mail. I'm happy to send them out snail mail as well. So now you've applied for the board you're interested in, and what's next? While some boards require interviews before making appointments, most of them do not. This means that once you apply, the next step might be appointment. So do not wait to ask your questions about the board you're interested in. If you're considering joining, ask me, contact the board chair, sit in on a meeting. City boards and commissions meetings are public. So sit in on a meeting before you apply. Just be sure you're ready to commit, like Kim said, to this board before you apply for it. If you are required to do an interview, I would reach out to you and I would schedule that interview with you and the mayor. And then just so you know, let's see, we are going to also show you our current openings. So if we go back to the boards and commissions page, there's something here that says current board and commission openings. If you click that, it takes you. Mine's a little slow. To this page. Does everyone see boards and commissions openings? I'll make it. Do you see that with current vacancies? Okay, great. So I'm going to show you a list of current vacancies. However, you may apply to serve on any board at any time, even if there's not a vacancy right now. So if there's a board that you see on our screen that you're interested in, apply now, and I'll keep your application on file for when a vacancy arises. So don't wait if you know that you want to do it. But here are our current vacancies. So we have the American Disabilities Act Advisory Committee. We have the CSAC, which notice that these are joint appointments, like we talked about. We have the Community Commission on Housing and Homelessness. We have the Honor Farm Advisory Board. That's the one that has to do with the racetrack out at PMI. We do have Pueblo Regional Building Boards of Appeals. So these ones, I'll point out, do have specific requirements. One, you have to be a contractor. This one, you have to be an engineer. The plumbing, you have to be a journeyman. We also have the Streetscape Advisory Committee. So none of these so far have a deadline listed. This means essentially that they're open until filled. The most common time this happens is when a person cannot fulfill their full term and they leave, and that leaves a vacancy. So if you were to apply for any of these positions, you would technically be fulfilling the remainder of another person's term. Now, if you scroll down to where it says accepting applications for with a deadline, the Fire Board of Appeals, we're taking applications through March 13th. This will start a new term on April 1st, and that's why we do have a deadline to have a smooth transition. Somebody will be coming off or reapplying, but a new term will begin on March 1st. And we do have other upcoming openings just to put it in people's heads. So the Pueblo Depot Activity Development Authority Board, that's out at Puebloplex. And we have the Zoning Board of Appeals. So that takes hearings on if you feel like planning and zoning was not correct on their decisions. Any questions on those?
It looks
Okay.
like Tom is available now. He's on the phone. So if Tom, is there anything you want to say?
I'm going to stop share. I'm still not hearing Tom. Darn, we're trying so hard. I do see Hannah asked a question about, can a person serve on multiple boards and commissions? Yes, absolutely, you can.
So for
Oh,
example,
Tom. Oh, go ahead.
in mind, this was city versus county, so two different municipalities, but I actually chaired both the county liquor and marijuana board, and I chaired the city retail and marijuana licensing authority. So absolutely, your little heart desires. One more thing, if you don't mind, I know we're kind of a little over on time as far as that last question, what makes a good board member? You know, I did state commitment. Also is removing any bias, you know, not, you know, really just sticking to whatever it is you're dealing with, sticking to facts, sticking with ordinances. Okay, did they violate an ordinance? Is just sticking to the facts and being able to make a non-biased decision. Maybe it's a friend or relative or something that's coming before you, just really removing that and being able to make that decision. And like Alyssa stated, you know, if you have to recuse yourself, I myself before, it's completely okay. If you think that there could be a conflict or anything like that, talk to your legal counsel or just recuse yourself. This way, you know that there is no question at the decision stage. So, although it is a small town, so you know we're related to a lot of people, and you know you just never know, and so that's okay. You can just recuse yourself, or if you're able to make that non-biased decision, you know, speak with your legal counsel, and you know just talk it out between the board. So, just one last thing I wanted to add. Thank you.
Absolutely, yes, thanks. And then Tom, I know somebody in the chat. Oh, I see your hand up. Did suggest that
can you guys,
We can hear
can
you.
you hear me?
Yeah, we hear
Yes.
you now.
Okay. Listen, my name is Tom Kerrigan. I am the chair of the advisory board for El Centro de Quinto Sol. I actually got a call from the mayor's office when they decided to put a board back into operation over there, asking me for recommendations as to who I might know who would be available and willing and committed, like Kim said. For me, I didn't think of me, and I got a call back from him saying, but your name's not on the list. So I added my name, and I've now been on the board chair for 2 years. I think it's about what it is. Part of the biggest thing is making sure that you've got people who are committed to come to the meetings. Again, like Kim said, if you don't, you're not going to get anything done. We had to have a meeting just this past month or earlier this month to see, were we going to disband the board again because no one was showing up? Or were we going to move forward? And it was decided we were going to still try and move forward again. We do a lot of helping, you might say, for their events over there at the rec center. We've got some projects that we're working on as well. But again, if you're going to join a board, you've got to be committed. It's something that you want to do. Ours is about an hour meeting the first Tuesday of each evening there at the rec center. We have a blast. For one, we get to see a lot of the things that are going on, the improvements that are going on, make suggestions for the community, ask the community what questions they have, what they see and don't see, what do they want that we're not doing. These are some of the things that as a board member, you get to start doing. Your interaction becomes very valuable, not just to the board, but for the rest of the community that you're serving the board for. So that's one of the big things you really need to think about too. It is a commitment, but for me, man, I have so much damn fun. It's a joy to do something here on the East Side, and I'm a resident of the East Side. So for me, it's even that much more important. How do we move forward with things like this? So anyway, I'm going to get off this call. You guys enjoy. If anybody has any questions, certainly before I leave, I'll answer what I can.
Tom, that was worth the wait. Thank you. Any questions for Tom? Okay. Great. Well, and actually, that is the end of our program. I'm going to stay on for anyone who does have questions for me. But I hope that you learned a little bit about board, how to apply for a board, and that it's not too hard. And I'm here to help you along the way if you do get stuck with anything. So I will put my email address in the chat in case you think of something later. But feel free to reach out to me and feel free to call me anytime. I'll put my number as well. And we hope to see your application come through soon for something. Thank you all.
Thank you, folks. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.